When you think of Australia, you think of kangaroos. They're the country's national animal, they're on the coat of arms, they're on the country's $1 coin, and they're also on the logo of the country's national airline. It's basically the one thing that Australia is most famous for. But despite all of this, every single year, the Australian government allows people to kill millions of these iconic animals and even get paid for it. It's a very curious situation where a country essentially targets the one thing that they are most known for. The equivalent of this would be Russia quitting vodka, Germany quitting beer, or America quitting toxic politics. And we all know that's never happening. So why does Australia literally kill over 1 million kangaroos per year? For starters, the bottom line is that Australia actually has too many kangaroos, with their population growing rapidly every year. The kangaroo population in the country massively increased from 27 million in 2010 to 45 million in 2016. And to put that in perspective, by 2016, the 45 million kangaroos in Australia were almost double the human population of the country. That's 2 kangaroos for every Australian. Now, this fast growth of Australia's kangaroo population comes down to factors like abundant food sources thanks to Australia's $100 billion agriculture industry, and also the reduction or absence of natural predators like dingoes. But here's the thing. It's one thing to love kangaroos, have them as your national animal, or even name your country's national soccer team after them. But it's another thing entirely to have too many kangaroos wreaking havoc across the country. An excess number of kangaroos results in, among other things, overgrazing and destruction of farms across the country. It's basically like inviting guests over and finding out that they've emptied out your fridge, which is kind of like the scene in the Hobbit movie, where the dwarves come in and eat up all of Bilbo Baggins' food. So how exactly is the government going about addressing this issue? Australia has implemented programs that authorize licensed hunters to reduce kangaroo populations by, well, killing them. For instance, in New South Wales, landowners can apply for licenses to kill kangaroos on their property when they're deemed pests. And commercial hunters are also allowed to kill kangaroos in exchange for the right to sell the animal products. This entire process is government approved, with national guidelines in place. In fact, there is even a legal document for it. It's called the National Code of Practice for the Humane Shooting of Kangaroos and Wallabies for Commercial Purposes. Yes, that's a real title, and no, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. But here's the twist. It's not just about population control. It's also about building an economic industry on the backs of these kangaroos, or you could say from their pouches. Kangaroo hunting has evolved into a big commercial industry in Australia, with the animals used for their meat and also for leather extracted from their skins. Licensed hunters are compensated for killing and harvesting kangaroos and also for supplying meat and leather products, both for domestic use and also for export. And in total today, kangaroo meat and leather contribute over $100 million per year to Australia's economy. So how many kangaroos are killed every year in Australia to make this happen? First, let's answer the question, how many can be killed? Across 5 Australian states, New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria, South Australia, and Western Australia, the collective quota allows for the killing of about 5 million kangaroos per year. But the truth is, in reality, in recent years, the actual number of kangaroos killed has been significantly lower than that quota. For example, only about 4% of the total kangaroo population, which is roughly about 1.5 million kangaroos, have been killed per year in Australia. And this leads us to an obvious question. What are the ethical considerations around killing kangaroos? Well, as you can imagine, animal welfare groups are not happy about this. They raise concerns about the humaneness of killing kangaroos and whether it's even necessary. For example, PETA has described it as the slaughter of Australia's national emblem, comparing it to the killing of elephants or whales, which typically generates more outcry in global and local media. Now, one major point of criticism is how these kangaroos are killed. Officially, Australian government guidelines recommend that hunters shoot the animals with a lethal headshot, but they also recommend that wounded kangaroos be decapitated or hit sharply on the head to, and I quote, destroy the brain. It's about as graphic as it sounds, and it's definitely not the kind of detail you want to think about over dinner. Now, on the other hand, proponents argue that hunting kangaroos is literally essential to maintain the balance in Australia's wildlife and also to reduce losses to farms across the country and the impact on the country's $100 billion agricultural industry. Now, the middle ground here might lie in exploring non-lethal solutions to control the growth of the kangaroo population in Australia. For example, the Australian Capital Territory has trialed the use of contraceptives to manage kangaroo populations in the region. Female kangaroos in the region are injected with an immunocontraceptive vaccine, and the results show that approximately 80% of these female kangaroos remain infertile for 5 years after the treatment. It's basically birth control for kangaroos. Now, this method is proving really popular with Australians. In 2019, a survey showed that 80% of residents in Canberra, Australia's capital, approved of this non-lethal approach. But despite the appeal of non-lethal methods, the reality is the licensed killing of kangaroos will likely remain necessary, especially in areas with high-density kangaroo populations. In the end, this is a national dilemma. Australia absolutely loves its kangaroos. It's an animal that's native only to the country. But unfortunately, to maintain balance and continue to exist with these beloved animals, it turns out Australia also has to kill them. Millions of them. So in the end, kangaroos are both Australia's national treasure and its national curse. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, then do give the video a thumbs up, and hey, don't forget to subscribe as well. And of course, before you go, check out other cool videos on the channel like this one. See you in the next one.